Oh, there we go. I don't know why I've just highlighted my husband. Now there you go. Okay, so first, yeah, settling. We want to start actually sitting. You can lie down if you like, but then I'd like to sit up to start the class. So if you make yourself comfy for a few moments, settle in. If you want to do that sitting up, that's perfectly fine. So wherever you've chosen to place yourself, be it sitting, be it laying down, I just want you to notice the ground behind you, the support it gives you. So if you're sitting, noticing how you can feel the floor. As you're laying down, notice how you can feel the floor. Could you arrange your body in another way that would make it feel a little bit more comfortable to be here? So maybe just tucking a tailbone under or wiggling a shoulder, maybe walking sit bones back, maybe rearranging the legs in some way. Paying attention to any twitches, any wiggles, anything that is disturbing the body. And just asking the body if it can just let go of these movements that are not needed. Starting to settle into the hook that you need to settle into this morning, be it your breath, be it sound, be it how you're feeling, whatever it is that's going to bring you closer to letting go of what's happening in the world around you today. So if you're lying down, roll to one side and come to a comfortable seating position. And like I say in every single lesson, that could be any way that you need to sit. You might have a cushion beneath you. You might have your legs out in front of you. I want you just to sit in a way that's not going to give you any aches and pains, any niggles anywhere. And often when you come to sit, you know, the instructions can be to sit with a gentle alertness. And I want to kind of get away from that, because if we sit with a gentle alertness, that already kind of brings this idea that we need to be forcing ourselves up into a bit of a straight position. Even though the word gentle's there, the word alert, I think, kind of gives a bit more energy to that movement. Instead, I want to bring a focus into the sit bones and the thighs and however we've chosen to sit into the floor. And if you could just picture your pelvis, what position is it? Is it tilted forwards? Is it tilted backwards? Then just the smallest of movements, just kind of tilt it backwards and then roll it forwards. And this is not to get us into any particular kind of movement, but it's just so we can see if we can start to feel better support through the bones and the spine. It might just be a little small movement that you make. Just checking then as you come to settle and rest, does that feel any different through the spine? Does your spine feel longer? Can you even feel the floor kind of pushing up through the bones? Maybe we can turn the head a little bit and check how that head feels on top of the spine. Now from this place, I would like to start to move the spine. So again, using that same movement, tuck your tailbone under. Notice as that happens that your ribs start to collapse in and you're looking down towards your lap. And then rolling your sit bones away, feel your pelvis tilting forwards. We can let the spine rise and the heart lift. And take your time with this. Again, it's very easy to think, oh, I can really go far with this. And I'd actually kind of encourage you not to go all the way to the top of this movement. Maybe just, think about it like a rolling wave. So I'm sure there's days when you go to the sea and the waves are completely furious, and there's days when you go to the sea and the waves are just lapping very gently on the shore. So think about this as being a very gentle, rolling wave-like motion through the body. So don't be tempted to go right to the end and kind of stretch. I want you to think about placing the bones on top of each other. And then finding a place just again to sit on your sit bones. And again, just feeling your ribs beginning to rest and your gaze is forwards. And I want now to start to circle. So bringing yourself over maybe towards your left knee, bring your heart forwards over towards the right knee and circle back. I like to think, oh, we're all circling in the same direction. It looks really nice on this screen. So feeling how that ground passes upon your sit bones through your hips, along that base of the pelvis, noticing how your sides either lengthen or shorten. I love actually bringing my awareness to that rib cage, so the base of it, and just feeling how it does a little parallel circle to the floor. If you bring your focus into your right shoulder, it's making a little circle. Your right elbow is making a circle. Your right wrist is making a circle. And then we can go the other way, maybe bring awareness into the left elbow, the left shoulder, the left wrist. Again, noticing all those little circles we can feel being drawn by that movement from the pelvis. So beginning to settle. And I want to start to do some movements with your head now. So looking down towards your lap, take your right ear towards your right shoulder. And as you do that, you feel your breastbone come forward. And then again, roll your chin back towards your chest. And you might feel your chest going back and you're kind of rocking back towards your tailbone. So you're rolling your right ear towards your right shoulder. Just let your heart come up. I'm turning sideways on so you might be able to see this. And your pelvis kind of just tilts forward a little bit. And then again, as you roll your chin back towards your chest, rolling back towards your sit bone, spine rounds a little bit. So again, you're bringing your chin forward and ear towards the shoulder. And just let your heart lift. Feel your pelvis tilting forwards. And again, as you bring your chest back towards, your head back towards the chest, again, your spine rounds. Can you lift the heart by taking your right ear towards your right shoulder? Does that make any sense whatsoever? So should we take the chin to centre and look to the opposite direction? So again, looking down to your lap, taking your left ear towards your left shoulder. And as you lift your chin and roll your ear towards your shoulder, again, can we let that heart come forwards? And again, as I bring the chin back towards the chest, let the heart come back. And again, the pelvis will be rolling forwards as we bring the ear towards the shoulder. And we'll be dropping towards, again, the tailbone and tucking under as we bring the chin towards the chest. So can we get that movement to happen into the heart as we move the head backwards and forwards? So it's very possible to circle your head, but use the shoulders. I've been careful not to crush this shoulder onto this microphone. So should we start with the right side? So we're going to, again, lift the chin, bring the right shoulder towards the right ear towards the right shoulder, then bring the shoulder up as well so it meets the cheek. And then as you tilt the head a little bit further back and the heart comes forward, you might be able to feel the back of your head on the shoulder. Can we bring the head all the way back? Bring the left shoulder up towards the left ear. Bring the left ear towards the left shoulder and then relax the head down. So you're going to bring the right shoulder towards the right ear. Let the heart come up. Again, rolling the head back, that heart is lifted, pelvis is tilted forwards, and again, rolling to bring the ear towards the chest. So again, we've got that little undulation of the pelvis and the spine. Can we roll our head around in a little circle? And going the other way. So again, you're taking the left ear towards the left shoulder, so bring them both together. Heart comes forward, rolling the head back. You're kind of bringing the shoulders back to support the head. Right ear finds the right shoulder. And again, relax the shoulders, let the head come forward. So whichever way the ear goes, you're going to kind of bring the shoulders back to meet it. So the chest is going to feel like it's opening. So left ear to left shoulder, bring the shoulder up. Bring both shoulders back, bringing the head back. Right ear to right shoulder. Maybe just turn the head the opposite way. And then shall we let go of that action? Just let everything go. So bring your feet out in front of you. We're going to do a little bit more movement. So we're coming into something that's going to feel a bit like Baddha Konasana. I'm just going to adjust this camera slightly because I'm right in this corner with my hairy trousers on today. Right. So placing your hands on the floor behind you, you've got your feet in your Baddha Konasana position. And again, roll your tailbone. We're going to roll it towards the floor. We're going to feel those heels kind of pulling in towards the groin. And then rolling into your sacrum, you're going to feel those heels pushing away. So again, rolling, pushing gently into your hands, feeling your heart lift. And again, as you drop back, feeling the lower back round, chest comes in. So just gently pressing into the hands, feel the heart lift, tailbone rolls forward. Again, sinking down, looking down towards the feet. Taking your time just to feel that movement from the sit bones up to the neck, through the shoulders, into feet, into knees. And then I'd like you just to think about bringing your your chest over to the left. So as you push into your hands, bringing your chest over to the left. It's like you're trying to bring your heart over towards the left knee. And then sink back. And then we're going to start to bring our heart over towards our right knee. So again, gentle press into the hands, bringing your heart over to the right, sinking down, bringing your heart over to the left. So a little press into those hands, sinking down and going the other way. So you're round in the spine. You kind of, when I'm bringing my heart over to the right, my left hand kind of wants to leave the floor. You're just kind of gently pushing off that hand behind you to bring the heart towards the knee. What we could then begin to do is, as we come over to the left this time, bring your right foot onto the floor. Your right pelvis is going to lift up, turning your heart more to the left. Again, rolling onto sit bones, onto the back, letting your left knee come up, turning your heart to the right knee comes towards the floor, rolling again the other way. So seeing this more now as a roll across the sit bones, knees beginning to float, right thigh comes to floor, again rolling back. Starting to think that we could actually begin to turn this into a bit of a twist. So as we're taking ourselves across from side to side, the hand that's behind you, so as I come to the left, let your right hand come off the floor, and we can maybe bring it across to the left. And again, we can roll across sit bones, move into the right side, left hand comes off the floor, looking over towards the right. Going across sit bones, rolling across the other way, taking your right hand across to the left, looking back behind us. Again, rolling and going the other way. And then what we could begin to do then is settle into center, widen out the knees. So feet are in the resting on the floor, knees are wide. And then let's send our knees to the left. So dropping your knees softly to the left. Right hand comes across to the left. Again, taking this movement as a twist. Look with your eyes, with your chin, look all the way over to the left. Lift your head, look around the room, get a really good sense of your head on top of the spine. how much of it can we feel into the neck, into the shoulders as we turn our head from side to side. And then when you're ready, your right hand begins to move round behind you, let it bring you onto your sit bones, and taking your knees to the right, your left hand comes across. And again, just keep turning the head, look all the way behind you, take your time, again, just to feel, to sense all the movements through the neck as we move. Releasing onto backs, going the other way, and again, taking that awareness around. Going the other way, taking that awareness around the opposite side. It might be a really nice idea now that as we go one way, so I've moved across to the left, my right hand is going to come to the floor and I'm going to slide it away from me towards the wall behind me. And then I'm sliding that right hand back in towards me. And then again, sliding the right hand away. And again, sliding back in towards me. And again, I'm not going into pain. So I know we've all got different knees, we've got different hips. It's just more of an inquiry. How would it feel to do this movement? Maybe even change direction, sliding a little bit more towards me, towards the wall behind, maybe out to the side. And then coming back to center, we're going to go the opposite direction. So find the floor, knees come across to the right. And your left hand finds the floor. And again, slide it away from you. Just inquire what that would feel like. So I've got a lovely, fluffy, bubbly carpet that's just molten. You know, have a good sense of what your carpet feels like. Maybe change direction. Moving back to center, we can move the opposite way. And it might start feeling nice to begin to settle maybe this way. So as we settle, maybe let your right knee turn towards the floor. And take a bow towards the floor. And so again, like I said, we've all got different bodies. For some of us, it might be quite easy to come down. For some of us, it might be we need to kind of support it with an elbow. And then when you're ready, settling back to center, sending the knees in the opposite direction. Sliding your left hand away. And again, it might be that we're going to have to support it with the right elbow. Let your left knee turn towards the floor, foot turns to the floor. And again, it's kind of a very odd version of pigeon, isn't it? Take a few breaths, sensing that connection of your hand into your sacrum. So settling back down and beginning to move towards seated. And then we're going to go on to all fours next. Yes, we are. So find a way to support your hands. So I know we're going to spend a little bit of time on our hands. So I know that some of us have got, like, you know, wrist issues and hand issues. So it could be you're going to have a cushion underneath your hands that you're going to use. Maybe you could have your wrists on the end of the cushion, just so that I've got quite flexible hands and, you know, a lot of accommodation there, but we haven't all got that, you know, that kind of flexibility in the wrist. So again, having a cushion underneath your hands might do you some good in terms of how it feels to be supported on the floor. So coming into a position that feels right for your shoulders, for your hands, and give your knees a bit of a wiggle. So at this point, I always like to, I'm trying to find basically adequate support through the elbows, through the wrists, through the shoulders, and then start to settle in. And just beginning now just to spread your hands a little bit into the floor. We're going to keep the elbows straight, but what I'd like you to begin to do is to drop your chest towards the floor, keeping the elbows straight. So it's not a press up, it's more of a shoulder press. I can feel my elbows beginning to bend a little, and that's when I'm going to begin to press deeply down into the floor and let my chest rise, let my head fall forward. And I'm going to do that again. So keeping the elbows straight, feeling the chest drop towards the floor. And again, when you start to feel your elbows bend like you want to come down, press and let your chest lift. Let your head fall forwards, and again, sink down. You might even feel the rest of your spine going on a little dance, and that's perfectly fine. So for me, it starts to resemble kind of very energized cat-cow. So you're going to feel your tailbone lifting, you're going to feel your head come forwards, and as you press into your hands, you're going to feel that tailbone drop and your head fall down. So just spend that time letting those movements flow through the bones. I don't know if you guys have got elbows like mine, but I can see my elbows are turning in and out. It's really nice to observation to see the kind of accommodation that's happening through those shoulders and how it plays out into your elbows. Anyway, so let's settle down into a place where we neither push in nor drop in. So you're going to feel some support through your shoulders. And then just make sure your toes are now tucked under. And press down through your palms, through your toes. Can we lift our knees up off the floor just a little bit? And then bring your focus to your heels. Lead with your heels. Try to take your heels towards the floor. That is going to bring your shoulders away from your wrists, coming towards the dog. And then let's bring those heels away from the floor, re-bending the knees. And again, settling into your kind of all fours with the knees off the floor. And then again, lead with your heels. Take your heels back towards the floor and let that lead you towards dog. And then we lift the heels and allow ourselves again to come back towards that all fours with the knees lifted. One more time, roll back. And then let's come to the floor. Drop your knees, keep your toes tucked under, sink your bottom down towards your heels. So we're using this as a really interesting way of opening out the soles of the feet. Slide your hands forward just a tad. And then we're going to lift ourselves up through all fours. So push through the shins, floating up through all fours, starting to drop into kneeling plank. And then start to let those hips begin to relax towards the floor. So just be aware of the tummy lengthening. Really use those hands to support you. Feel the heart come forward. And then use your hands to push down and forwards and back to your heels. Come back to all fours. So you're going to take those hands under the shoulders, walking your knees back under hips. And I'd like to repeat that 2 more times, that little sequence. So just in your own time, we're going to start with the shoulders. So keep those arms nice and straight. Drop your chest down. And again, press with your hands, letting that action follow itself through the bones of the spine. So find the support, pressing through the fingers, keep those toes tucked under, lift the knees up a few centimeters and then bring the heels towards the floor, guiding you towards dog, pushing through the toes, lift the heels up, coming back to hovering all fours, lead with the heels, rolling back, push through toes, knees begin to hover, heels lead towards the floor, pushing back. Again, push through those toes, knees hover, bring the knees down and let the bottom come down to heels, pausing. Slide your hands forward a tad and then float up through all fours, dropping the weight into hands, slowly begin to relax the hips towards the floor and take the gaze forward. Press with your hands, press down and forwards, bring the heels back. Settle down and one more time back up onto all fours. So again, just repositioning those hands under the shoulders. And again, dropping the chest down, tailbone begins to lift. Press with the hands, head falls forward. Just do that again a few times. Let the shoulders do some nice movements across the back. And again, settling into that place where you need the rounded, you need the sagged, tucking the toes under, lift the knees, and then lead with the heels, rolling back towards dog. Pushing down with the toes, feel the heels lift, rebend the knees, coming back to hovering all fours. Lead with the heels, rolling back to dog. Push through the toes, knees come back. Final time rolling into dog. Push in through those toes, knees come back to the floor. Settle down onto heels, slide your hands forward. And again, push up through all fours, dropping the weight into hands, hips begin to sink towards the floor. And then let's use these hands, push into floor, sink yourself back, find a way to settle down into child. Make two little fists for your head and soften into the floor. Just let everything go, particularly in your hands and wrists. Okie dokie. So pushing yourself gently up to seated. I need to face this way now. We're going to move into the little standing sequence. So I mentioned just before, well, some of us are here, sorry, using something that might be like a block of some description might be good. So I've got loads. I wish I could magic them to your house. So a block, a book, something that feels that you could use to extend your arm, basically. So the movement we're going to be coming into is we're going to come through. I'll show you the sequence in full, shall I? So we're going to come from this place, which is like a crouchy thing. We're going to explore the best way coming into this movement. So we're going to be maybe leading with the front leg, maybe the back leg. We're going to up and down a few times. Then this is when the block might be useful because we're going to try going into triangle. So imagine if you've got really, really long arms, long legs, you might struggle to get to the floor. So a block is always a good idea. I think I actually like it for the next bit of this. So we're going to find our way into triangle poses. And then from here, just walking back so I don't hit this wall, we're going to walk forwards into kind of a supported warrior 3, or even turning this into half moon pose. So again, having this block under your hand is going to be good. From here, we're going to push way up to standing, into warrior 3, back down to our half moon pose, back to warrior 3. We're going to repeat that a few times, and then we're going to try going into eagle pose, and then we're going to switch legs. So, because that leg will be saying, please stop. So a block would be brilliant. Something that you could touch the floor with would be brilliant. House brick, a sleeping cat. I love that you've all moved and gone out of your house trying to find something now. Yeah, fab. Unless I'm just thinking, was that an Amazon delivery of a yoga block? That'd be really timely, wouldn't it? Right, okay, so should we settle down then? So I'm turning this way just so I can keep a little beady eye on you. So we're going to lead with right foot. So yeah, tucking your toes under. Tucking yourself in would be a good idea as well. Take your right foot just in front of you. And I think with this, it's always good to play with your angles and your depth of pose. Like a broken record, I often say heel to knee is a good thing. I'm just going to spin around. So the back of that heel in line with the front of the knee, to me, like imagine if you place like a ruler in front of the knee, both points will be touching. So I find that is a really good place to start. But it might be that once you're standing, you're going to adjust that. But then when you come down, have a look at how you've arranged yourself, and that'll be your ideal setup. So settling into that place, and then lifting your bottom up off your back heel, so you've got more weight through your front foot. Belly drapes down onto thighs. And again, this might be when you think, oh, didn't know I needed a block. So again, you might have a block under your hands. Maybe check where you've placed your hands. Maybe your hands are close to you. Maybe you put your hands in front of you. Have a sense of where your shoulders are. So you kind of want those hands under your shoulders, roughly speaking. Play with how you support yourself here. So I tend to find actually if your hands are flat, you kind of dump into them. So fingertips, knuckles is quite good. It just feels again that there's some support through your shoulders. And once you kind of find that you're settled in some way, just close your eyes and start to feel the weight of your front foot in the floor. Feel the weight of your shoulders resting down through your bones. And then you can notice your front heel. If it's lifted, you know, maybe walk it forwards, maybe walk it under. Check a way that you're going to find that support through the floor, because we're going to use this front foot to come up. So kind of once she's beginning to settle in, Push down with your right foot, feel your left knee begin to float up, and then we're going to roll again through that footprint, taking your weight slightly backwards into your back heel so you can begin to settle it into the floor. This is when we might think, oh, hang on a minute, I've got a floating heel. So this might be when you maybe even step that back heel in a little bit, or maybe even turn the toes out a little bit. So I just want you to find a way to begin to settle into that back foot. So have a little play, maybe even looking at your feet. Maybe your feet are too close together. Maybe you want to maybe step your back foot out to the left a little bit. And then once you're settled into this pose, just think about all the ways you can let go through your shoulders, maybe bending elbows, let your head dangle in some way. Maybe your front knee needs to be bent just so we can have that support through the belly. And that might just help us feel like we can let go that little bit more. And then let's lift that back heel, pushing down through your left big toes, bending your left knee, take yourself back to your starting place. Have a look now at your feet. Are they in a different position to they were a second ago? So what I tend to find now is I realise I've stepped my feet a little bit wider or a little bit closer. And then repeat and use that front foot to press down, let it lift the back knee, slowly straightening out the back leg, let it find the floor. Again, wiggle through the shoulders, bend the elbows, allow yourself to settle in. Again, checking in that flat back footprint, how does that feel? And then when you're ready, again, press down through your left toes, let your heel lift, slowly rebend the knee and settle down to the floor. So this back leg can lead us into the fold. So maybe think rather than using your front leg, using your back leg. So think more about leading with your back heel. Can you take that towards the floor? Feel as you lead with that back heel that the knee floats up and you can again settle into that same place. And again, leading with that back toe, pressing down for the toes, heel lifts, knee begins to rebend and settle down. So again, lead with that back heel. Think about taking it to the floor, feeling how the knee lifts, and again, we settle in. So this is when we're going to start now to play with our little triangle pose. So find a place for your right hand where you're going to know where I want you to, we're going to press off it a little bit. So yeah, your right hand might be in front of your right foot, it might be slightly to the side of your right foot. Be on your fingertips or use a block. So again, so we've got that space to push away from it. And now your left hand, just lay it on your back. I don't need to do anything with that hand at all. We're going to focus on the right hand now. So all we're going to begin to do is just kind of have that right hand elbow bent a little bit and then push into the floor, let the elbow straighten. And we can feel the spine becoming a little bit more alert, can't we? And then bend the elbow. And again, press down through the hand and we can feel that chest beginning to lift. Just kind of feel that movement to start with. And then what would be quite nice to do is to push that little bit more, keep pushing, pushing, pushing. And can we begin to notice the chest is beginning to turn a little bit to the left? Turn your head if it feels good to look to the left. And then let's turn the chest back towards the floor. Wiggle your hips, nice and central, and then lower your left knee back down. We're just going to do that one more time. So you can lead with whichever foot feels good. You might be pushing off the right foot, you might be leading with your left foot. Settle into that first action. And then start to work with your right hand again, pushing down into the floor, feeling how the spine becomes more alert. And the more you push, we can begin to slowly turn the chest to the left. And I'm not saying, stack the shoulders, just feel the movement through your chest and then unwind. So shall we start to move towards our next little standing pose? So from here, walking your hands forwards again, you might take your block with you. So you're going to start to step into your right foot. Your left foot becomes a little bit lighter at this point. So I'm now repositioning that block. So it's now on its side. And I'm taking the left foot up. And right now, I can feel that my pelvis is kind of roughly level with the floor. And then what I'm going to begin to do is turn my hips to the left. And that makes my left hand a little bit lighter. And it might be you're just going to play with having it dangling off the floor. It might be you're going to play with bringing it to the side waist. Okay, so turning your body back towards the floor. Let's just lower our left foot a little bit, and I'd like to come to standing using this right leg. So bend your right knee. See if you can take your left big toe off the floor and then press, whee, and stand up. Oh, I've failed at that one today. I was like straight through earlier on. So I'm just going to adjust this camera. Right, what are we doing? We're standing up. So imagine we've just kind of wee floated up. So taking yourself onto your right foot, we're going to bring that left knee forward. Take your hands to heart. Gazing softly into the space in front of you. And then taking that left foot out behind, feeling your pelvis begin to tilt, moving towards warrior three. So warrior three to me is a personal choice in terms of depth. Taking your arms out, I'd say by your side. Pointing back with your left big toe. And then bending that right knee a little bit, bring the fingertips towards the floor or back towards your block. Placing your right hand on the block. Turn your hips to the left again, moving back towards our half moon pose. So again, this left hand might be hovering, just kind of for safety on the floor. You might be bringing it to the hip. You might be extending the left hand up. Point your left big toe out behind. And then turn the body back towards the floor, pelvis turns. Bending your right knee, press and rise up. Taking again your left knee out, woohoo, in front of you, falling over in the process. We're going to repeat that little sequence. So taking the left foot out behind, arms move out like aeroplane wings, moving back towards our warrior three. Bending the right knee slightly, taking the hands towards the floor, hand finds the block. And then turning the hips to the left. And again, finding something that might resemble in some way our half moon pose. Turning the body back towards the floor. Coming back to stand, this time, just for added joy, taking your left foot around in front of you, crossing your knees, bringing your hands to heart. I'm using this as a little posture break for now. Beginning to bend your right knee, taking yourself into something that resembles eagle pose. So your left big toe might come off the floor. I tend to find as I hook that leg behind, I tend to fall over. See how you feel about hooking that left foot behind the right shin. Unhooking. And step your left foot back. You'll be happy to know we're going to let that right leg have a nice little parky now. So taking your hands down towards your right shin, walk your hand down towards the floor and start to kind of see this as a nice little posture break or as a release. So you might want to soften the back of the right knee, let your belly begin to rest down over your right leg. Maybe we're going to have a stack of blocks for our hands, you know, whatever feels right, let go. So let's take our left knee to the floor, coming back into our kind of starting position. But then what I'd like you now to do is to walk your right foot a little bit further forwards from where you had it before. And then walk your hands forward. So you're going to drop some weight into your right foot. Your left knee begins to drop behind. So your pelvis is in front of your left knee. And then push off your right foot, walk your hands back, taking a seat on the toes behind you. Your right heel your right ball of your foot begins to lift up. And then we're going to use the ball of this right foot again, press it to the floor, walk forwards, settle in. Push off the right foot, walking back. And I think for this little sequence, this is going into lizard and half monkey. Take from this where you feel you want to hang out the most. If you want to hang out forwards, hang out forwards. If you want to hang out at the back, hang out at the back. And obviously you're listening to the joints, so we don't have to go into like the craziest movements. You want to feel supported through the feet, through the bones. You know, if you want to sit on this back one, what I tend to find, a lot of people prefer to have the back toes untucked because it's a big movement through these toes at the back. So you might think, okay, I'm going to flatten that foot, and that is perfectly fine. If you want to sit on the top of that back foot, then you do that. And equally, if you are in this position at the front, you might just want to have these hands on the floor. You might think, wow, this is a little bit deep. You could always bring that knee a little bit further forwards and just let the lower back be soothed. So again, take from this what you feel is best for you. Okay, so let's come into our little starting position. I've not forgotten to do the other leg, honestly, I haven't. So again, we're going to take a seat on the feet at the back. Take your left foot forward. So you might have an idea now where your left foot should be in relation to your right knee to start that little sequence. And then lifting your weight up onto your front foot. Belly finds the thigh. Again, you might need a block under your hands. Again, note where your hands are. You want to feel that your hands are roughly under your shoulders. Fingertips for me feel better than flat hands, but that's just my feeling. And then start to let go, feeling the weight of your left heel, the toes. Just think about your head balancing on the end of the neck. And then start to press into your left foot. Feel your right knee lift. And again, settle into our fold. Again, check how your feet are. Are they in a good place? Do they need to be wider? Do they need to be closer in? Is your back heel on the floor? Your back heel might be on the floor because you're kind of balancing in your left foot. So again, it's the idea of just shifting your weight towards the wall behind you. This might bring that back foot to the floor. And then when you're ready, lift your back heel, rebend the knee and settle back down. Leading again with the front foot, press into the foot, feel how that back knee begins to levitate, and again, sink the heel to the floor. And again, lifting the back heel, coming back down to the floor. And then maybe lead with your back heel this time. I find that actually sometimes feels easier. So lead with your back heel, feel that the knee begins to lift, and again, settle in. Maybe have a look at your feet. Do they mirror each other in position? Is one turned out more than the other? Pressing down with the toes, the back foot, the heel lifts, the knee bends. You might, if you feel the force, that push come through to your head and through your spine. And again, leading with the heel, it brings the hips, it brings the spine, you settle back down. So placing, again, the block underneath your left hand if you need to. Again, where should the block be? In front of the foot, slightly to the left. Choice is yours. And again, bend the elbows and press them down with those fingertips. Feel the arm begin to straighten. And as the arm straightens, the spine begins to float up. Play with that a few times and just get the sense of the floor is actually pushing up through the bones and enabling this chest to begin to do some lovely little movements. And then what we could begin to do then is settle into that push. Push that a little bit more, and can we feel the chest beginning to rotate out to the right? Just do that a few times. Soften off, push, feel the chest turn to the right. Let's turn our body back towards the floor and again, rebend the knee and settle down. And then we can do that again, leading into our very first pose. Pushing through those hands, moving into our triangle. And again, it might be that you're feeling confident about taking a hand up to the ceiling. turning your body back towards the floor, we're going to move towards our little balances. So again, that block might come with you. I'm going to use a block for this. So I'm walking, I've brought the block in front of me. I'm walking my hands forward, stepping my weight into my left foot, and that right foot begins to float up a little bit. And again, it's for me, I think it's really nice just to kind of practice balancing through that left foot before you do anything fancy. You know, feel the grounding of the foot, feel the knee, and then it's a bend the knee and kind of push a few times, and then you're going to kind of feel that right foot bouncing. And then you can push into it and begin to turn the hip and feel that right leg begin to turn out. And because the hip is turning, the shoulders are turning, your right hand might feel a little bit lighter on the floor. You might be able to bring it to a hip. Let's turn towards the floor. Bend your left knee. Ooh, press and rise up. Bringing your right foot forward, knee bends, bringing your hands to heart again. Find a place to settle. Right foot moves back, hands moving out like airplane wings, again settling into something that feels a bit like warrior three. Bending the knees, hands come back down to the floor or to the block. And turning the pelvis out again to the right. Turn the body again back to face the floor, bending your left knee, press, woo, completely failed and rise up. If you're falling over, it's not you, it's your floor. And then taking your right foot back, moving towards your warrior three. Bending that knee slightly, hands find the floor. It might be you're not even going to try to go into your harder Chandrasana. I wouldn't blame you. What is quite nice, I think, is just turning the hip and just feeling that movement in that left hip. Maybe your right hand does want to come away from the floor. I don't know. Mine does. So, ooh, no, it doesn't. I'm going to keep it down. Do you know what? There you go. All right, so turning your body back towards the floor. Pressing, rising up. Crossing your right foot, this time over your left. I would use this again as a little posture break. So take time to settle into eagle. I find eagle a really challenging pose personally. So getting that weight into your left foot, keep that knee slightly bent. Starting to sit into that left foot a little bit. So you're bending the left knee, right foot becomes a little bit lighter. Whoopsie-daisy, can it hook? Bringing the hands to heart. And then uncoupling the legs, step in your right foot back, breathing a big sigh of relief because you know we're going to come to the floor. Walking your hand down the shin, settle in to your fold. So let's lower that left knee down, the right knee down to the floor. And once we're down on the floor, we've got those two little movements, haven't we, going into lizard pose and our split. So walk your left foot forward a little bit and then start to let your weight go into that left foot. So you're walking your hands forward. That right knee goes behind the pelvis. So there's the front of the pelvis. It's gone. So we're extending that right hip a little bit. And then pushing off your left foot, walk your hands back. Your bottom goes back towards your back heel. Again, straighten out your front leg. And again, leading with the ball of the foot, walk yourself forward, settle down. Push off the foot, walking back. Moving forward, settle down. Push off the front and settle down. So again, with these, it's that little option of what you think is going to be most suitable for you now. So if you are going to settle in this kind of split position, you might want to untuck those toes behind and take a seat. That feels nice. You might want to sit upright. That might feel good. Be careful of this front knee. Obviously, there's a lot of movement in that knee. It could be if you want to explore that, but you don't quite like going into that knee, just keep yourself lifted and you're sliding that left foot a little bit further forward. So again, we're expressing that movement through the back of that leg, but we're not bringing too much movement into that front knee. Again, it might be you're going to have a few blocks here to kind of settle into that movement. Equally, as you're coming forwards, again, there's a lot of sensations here, particularly through the sacrum, through that back, through the front, that pelvis. So what we don't want to be doing is kind of pressing into that sacrum and into the lower back. So I often think less is more in this movement, bringing that front foot in a little bit, letting your belly rest on the side. Again, blocks under the hands might be really nice, just so we're not kind of thinking, I've got to touch the floor and going into place that feels harmful. So let's take ourselves onto our backs, shall we? I've got a bonkers little pose for you now. Well, it isn't. It can be. Depends how you feel about it. So lay down for a second, close your eyes and just take some moments just with your breath. Checking out how the ground meets the body. All the places that we can feel heavy and light. Okay, so standing your feet up in front of your hips. Let me just, I keep looking at it on camera. And what are we doing? Move right is what I need to do. Yes. Can you touch your feet from here with your hands? So I'd say go wide with your feet. Can you touch your ankles or your feet with your hands? Can you even hook your hands around your feet? That's not the aim of the game, that's just a question. If you can, well, that's one thing. If you can't, can you touch your trousers? Can you hold your trousers with your hands, maybe? So again, that's another little thing. And I'm asking about doing this with ease. It could be that you think, not a chance, I've got really, really long body, tiny little arms like a dinosaur. You might even want to maybe get two little belts and put them around your ankles. I don't know. It's just a thought. Find a way to make that contact through the bones of your hands. Bones of your hands, that's a very strange thing to think. And just let go of them for a second and just let your arms fall down by your side. So I would imagine now we've all got our knees nice and wide so we could reach those hands. Drop your knees to the right. Let your left side float up off the floor. Your left knee floats towards the floor and then roll back to center. Taking your knees to the left, so your right hip floats off the floor, your right knee comes towards the floor. Rolling back to center. Go the other way. Just take your time. And again, the aim of the game here is not to press knees to floor. It's just to let them feel heavy. And if anything, my awareness is actually moving to the outer leg. So, you know, we often think about the inner leg, don't we, and how that feels through that hip. But I'm actually thinking more about letting go of the outer leg. So as I bring the knees to the left, letting go of the left leg. And as I bring the knees to the right, letting go of the right leg. And just letting those legs, the outer muscles do less. I don't think we realise it, but we do, you know, those muscles have a tendency just to keep nice and tense. I mean, nice, is that even a nice word? It's not, but they tense up, don't they? So just think about letting go of those muscles and just let them rest towards the floor. And just following the movement up through the body as your knees come down to the floor, your belly's doing a little dance, isn't it? So if you maybe just to place your hands on your belly button, you would notice as you bring your knees one way, your belly's turning. Do you feel that? And your ribs are turning just a little. So your shoulders on the floor, but your ribs are turning just a little. So again, this is a twist, isn't it? Really lovely twist. No effort at all through that rib cage, no effort through the neck, but we're twisting, but we just feel it through that lower half of the body. So shall we settle that down and bring your knees in towards your belly? As you bring your knees towards your belly, can you find a way to hold your ankles again? So you might have your hands around the front of the ankles, you might be holding onto your trousers. And then take your feet to the floor from that position. So you're going to maybe widen out your feet, bring your feet to the floor. And again, bring your knees back together. So you roll in the spine, and then as you bring your feet to the floor, your pelvis lengthens and comes into floor. So you start to find yourself coming into a bit of a new, I won't say neutral curve, but a curve of sorts. So you round in that lower back, and as you bring the feet to the floor, you feel the sacrum coming into the floor and your lower back beginning to lengthen out. So just do that a few times, feeling that movement through the back. And we could even take our awareness into the rib cage, and we can feel the rib cage lengthening out. We might even feel the movement even finding its shoulders. Maybe as you bring those feet to the floor, can we let ourselves come into a tiny little arching of the lower back? So pressing gently the tailbone into the floor, can we feel the back beginning to arch as we bring the feet to the floor? So as you bring the knees in and the lower back round, so kind of rounding one way, and as we bring those feet to the floor, can we feel that little roll of the tailbone arches the back a little bit? So just kind of get into that sensation for a moment. So really gently does it, you know, sense and feel the movement. Okay, so where are we going with this? Well, you shall see. So bringing your feet together, turning your knees to the right, bring your feet to the floor. So your left foot is going to be somewhere by your left hip, and then relax the knees to the right. So my right knee is out to the right. It's not directly under the hip. Just let that knee relax. And again, my hand is still touching the ankle. It might be nice maybe for you to hold the trousers. So bring the knees into center, bring the feet together, and then turn the knees to the left, and then drop the feet to the floor, and then relax the knees to the left. So again, my right foot is just somewhere by my right hip. My left knee's pointing out to the side, and again, I'm just letting go of the weight of the legs. And then I'm going to inhale, bring the knees back, turn the knees to the right, let the feet find the floor, knees are going to fall to the right, and again, I'm settling in. My left hip floats up off the floor. Inhaling, rolling ourselves again into my little ball. Exhaling, knees are turned to the left. Feet find the floor. That right foot is by the right hip. And again, I'm settling in. Relaxing knees, right hip floats off the floor. If you want to do this without the hands, you can always take the hands off the floor if that is kind of distracting. Bringing those knees in, turning the knees the other way, let the feet find the floor, relaxing the knees. Inhaling, bringing the knees in, turning the knees the other way, let the feet find the floor, relaxing the knees. Inhaling, knees to center, turning the knees out, dropping the feet to the floor, letting go of the knees. It might be quite nice just to maybe settle into one of these places now. So I've let my knees fall to the right. I'm just going to let my left hand find my left ankle. And I'm just taking some lovely breath, feeling that left hip is lifted off the floor, heart's turned slightly to the right. Rolling myself back to center, bringing the knees together, turning the knees to the left, feet to the right, letting go then of the weight of the knees. And again, I find that space to take hold of a right ankle. That feels really nice. You might not want to do that. You might just want to even bring your hands above your head or out wide and just spend a few moments again at rest. Right hip floated off the floor. bring your knees back in towards your belly. And I've got one more little pose for you. Actually, I've got a couple of little ones, actually. One is, believe it or not, you can get into bow pose from this position. And that is one where you think, I'll show it you. And you can, in fact, I'll show it you. You can just say it. You can shake your head and not bother. So I'm going to come up into bridge. So I'm pushing down into feet. My hands are finding my ankles. Then I'm dropping my right hip, dropping my knees to the right. And I'm rolling over. And then I'm taking my feet back to the floor and coming back onto my back and then pushing back up into bridge. So that's an option. It might be a bit like, particularly if you don't find it easy to touch your ankles, I probably would avoid that. But if not, let's do some other little bits in the meantime, shall we? So coming into bridge first. There, feet on the floor. Down into your feet and lift yourself up into bridge. And just let your arms rest under the body. Maybe walk your shoulders closer down towards your heels if that feels good. And just feeling the presence of your feet in the floor, your big toes, the heels, and we're just going to begin to shake the hips. Think about being like a little snake, shaking the hips, seeing your knees going from left to right, feeling your spine kind of wiggling through the body. And then we can maybe drop the right hip and drop the left hip and just kind of do a little bit of a dance with the pelvis. Again, come back to center, wiggle the hips. And come back down onto your back. Just bring your knees in towards your belly and just give yourself a hug. So that is one little option. So, I mean, I don't know if any of you were wanting to try to roll over into that weird bow pose. If you did, put your thumb up and I can have a little look. And if you don't bother. Oh, I can see a thumb. Right. Oh, a couple of thumbs, fine. Game on then. So the option, if you don't want to go into that, is just to kind of, play into those little bridges we've just been doing. So again, if you don't want to go into bow pose, I would go into bridge and maybe have a wiggle of the hips, maybe even come back into windscreen wiping the legs, because what we're going to do is actually a combination of those two movements. So staying exactly as you are, or beginning to move into this bridge pose. So I'm moving up to bridge, walking my hands down towards my feet, and I can hold my ankles. And then I'm taking my right hip towards the floor and dropping my knees towards the floor. And I'm rolling onto my right side. And then I'm rolling all the way over onto my front. And then I'm going to roll all the way over onto my right side. The right foot finds the floor. My head finds the floor. The left foot finds the floor. And I've kind of rolled myself back up onto my back. And then I'm taking again those knees out to the right. Rolling over the right side again onto tummy. And again, rolling onto my back. Right foot, left foot. Moving back up into bridge and then go the other way. So dropping your knees. Ooh, need to move. Dropping the knees to the left. Thigh bone finds the floor. Hips find the floor. Rolling over. And taking those feet behind. Whee, rolling onto backs. Just play with it a few times. You never know, you might need to escape from somebody one day like this. Hope not. And then shall we settle onto our backs, bringing your knees in towards your body whenever you're ready. It is a bit of a crazy one, that one, isn't it? And then settling down into Shavasana. You never know, you might have to escape from, I don't know, some burglars one day. Hope not. Settling into your spine, closing your eyes. And just notice all the energy you've released through the body. This is the time I begin to notice and sense and feel all the places that have become more open for my yoga practice. Taking your focus down into your tummy. And just noticing how your belly rises and falls gently with your breath. Let your navel guide you with your breath. Navel rises out in front of you, and as you take your exhale, guide it softly back towards your spine. Inhaling, belly rises out in front of you. Exhaling, guiding the navel back towards your spine. The next time you pull the navel back towards your spine, hold it there. And let your awareness move into your chest, feeling your belly, your chest moving more with your breath. Picturing breathing into your right lung. Picture breathing into your left lung. Picture breathing into both lungs. Releasing the belly button. Taking an inhale and just feel that it could filter through the belly up into the chest and all the way to collarbones, to the arms. Letting the breath go a little quieter now, just coming into a natural breath. But now just feeling the breath just passing at the back of the throat, the epiglottis. So we're just going to move into Ujjayi breath. And I think we've all done enough of this in this lesson for me not to tell you how to do it. But if you did want to know, just picture breathing onto a mirror and fogging it up with your breath. And then doing that very same breath, but with lips closed. So you're just going to feel that breath at the back of the throat. And as we take our awareness into our breath, do we notice anything else happening in the body and unfolding? Or letting go of the thoughts maybe? Letting this breath now just move a little more silently into our natural breath. And as we settle into our natural breath, do we become more aware of the rhythm that the body's fallen into? Just settling into the hook that makes you most comfortable, be it breath, be it sensation, be it the sound of your breath. We might be aware that we've got some little spaces where our thoughts should be. And there's a thought from a book I've been reading this week. It's the one about the horse, the fox, the mole and the boy. I've got the name of it wrong, but there's just something in there that I thought sounded so lovely. And it's if we spent more time thinking about and going with our dreams rather than what our fears and our worries are, wouldn't the world be a happier place? We've got no control over lots of things, so why worry about them? Being present to the things we have control over. We'll just spend again a few moments sensing what's occurring in the body, the quality of the mind, the sensations you're feeling through the body, how we feel in the joints and the muscles and the bones. And how that all unites as one thing. So let's find some nice ways to move towards a seated posture, place, I don't know. And we'll close our practice. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me today. And